Today we're going to review some world construction and layer construction techniques from existing projects and explain how they work. So let me share my screen with the first project. So what we're looking at now is project number 1569919. It's entitled layer construction, but we're going to talk about some other construction techniques first and then go into layer construction. So let me edit the project. So here we have a world. It's called big floor. There is a tile that's in the lower left corner. Let me show the code for that tile. Just select it here. This floor tile has the ability to build itself. And to do that, we can either set a simulation property directly, or we can use the hand tool to click on the floor, which sets the simulation property. So let me display the simulation properties. And there's only one. And let me just make that window a little smaller. It's called build floor, or @build floor when you're referring to it in code. If I use the hand tool with the shift option, what it does is it toggles that value between 0 and 1. So let me do that. I may need to zoom in to actually get to that one tile, but we'll see if I can get to it. So I'm going to hold the shift down. Notice I'm not running the simulation. Now build floor is set to 1. I click it again, and it's set to 0. And what will that do for us? Well, if we're running the simulation in the while running method, if that option is set, if build floor is set to 1, or @build floor is set to 1, then each tile makes a decision. If I do not see a tile to my right, I'll make a new one to my right. And if that happens to be false, because I've already got all the tiles made to my right, it'll ask the same question going up. So let's watch what happens when I run the simulation, and I'm going to tap on this floor tile with the shifted hand tool, and now I'll quickly tap it off to show that you can stop what's going on. I clicked it on, then I clicked it off, and you can see the world just build itself. Now that it's doing that, let me reload the world. When I do this, it's completely built. And what is going on right now is it's still going through the process of asking the question, but the condition is false. For example, if I were to, stop the simulation and click on a tile, you'll see that all of those things are false. But let me reload the world and start it again and stop it. Oh, I got to click on play. There we go. I'll stop it. Now, if I take a look at the tiles, say anywhere but at the very edge, all of the rules are red because all the conditions are red. The condition, we'll talk about this key condition about later, because that's we're going to talk about building layers. But for right now, we're just looking at the two rules about building the floor in a particular layer. So now, if we look at it, it says, if I click on it, well, let me change these. We can see that, and I better do this so you can see, because I have the build floor option turned off, it was red, but now we can see that it says, oh, I don't not see a tile to my right anywhere here. But if I click on this particular tile, which is right at the edge here, say, and look at the code, we can see it's green. It does not see a tile. So if I were to say go right now, this tile in the bottom row, which because it doesn't see a tile to its right, would continue to build. In fact, if I do step, so now the build floors option is set, and you can see that this rule is green. If I single step, you can see incrementally it's growing, both up and to the right. If I click anywhere on the edge, I'll single step, and we'll see when the bottom row gets filled, we'll see that No longer can I build to the right, but I can still build up. So let me single step. 1, 2. Okay, now this bottom row, if I click on it, we see that it still thinks it doesn't not see one to the right. Um, Probably a better condition would be to say, is it empty to the right? But in either case, still going to build to the right, or it's still going to build up. For example, the one just above it, just to the left of it, is going to build up. So that one's going to build to the right. That one will build to the right. This one, which is one cell to the left of the rightmost cell, it's not true that I don't see one to the right. So it will build one up. And so as a consequence, when I run it, either way, it will always run. Now, if I look at it, it says, hey, it says I should be able to do one to the right, but you can't put a cell in. So it's not nothing's going to happen. It's going to try to make a new one to the right, but the world ends there. So it's continuing to think it's creating one to the right, but it's not. A better condition would be to say, is it empty to the right? And then and now that's a better condition to use than if I not see. So let's redo it. I'll stop, redo the simulation. And now I'll say, is it empty to the right? Let me get rid of the not see. And I'll do this. They both work, but technically it's it's more correct to say, is it empty? Because the world isn't empty to the right, it just doesn't exist. So now if I run it again, and I have to I could just set this to 1 right here. And I have to be this has to be up. So let me redo that again and set this to 1. We see the same effect and it goes just as fast, but the reality is at this point, none of the rules are going to be considered positive. So either way it works, technically it's more correct, if you will, to say empty. So now we've learned how to control building a floor or building a complete layer of a particular agent automatically by having it generate cells to the right and above it. So let me stop the simulation. And now that I've got this floor created, I'll turn off this build floor option. And now that I've got the entire floor, I can click anywhere I want with the shifted hand tool. And we see that the build floor simulation property is now 0. So it will no longer do that.